the business of advocacy. What impact does lobbying Congress have on businesses and their profits in our democratic process?
Earlier, I was speaking to Congressman Hoyer, and we were talking about the Credit Card Competition Act. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of, when you think about the process payers, it reminded me of Sanders' bill on the pharmacy benefit managers,
okay,
the middle people.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wants to stop the spread, right? The collection of cash in between, which is similar. And I know that you have also been very much interested in and invested in pharmaceutical prices, and in particular, thinking about getting access to generics so that people can have what they need. Can you tell us a bit about how and why you got involved in that issue?
For a couple of reasons. My constituents care about it. And my history is that my father was a pharmaceutical executive back in the day. So I come at it from a dual perspective about the patient, about the best interest of the patient, the costs, to make sure that the patients have access to good medicines, therapies, mechanisms that will make their quality of life better. At the same time, we need healthy pharmaceutical companies that are willing to invest in the research, the R&D, and at the same time make a profit, but not gouge folks. So it is an extremely set of competing issues, and that's actually what I like, because that's where you get to the truth. When you talk about the pharmacy benefit managers, I was just on a call that I asked for with FTC Chair Lena Khan to talk about that very, very opaque issue. People do not understand the role of the pharmacy benefit manager, and that's where we have a job to do. To not allow advocates, for example, to cloud over who is that middle set of men and women who are profiting, and also limiting that which, if you stand at the pharmacy desk, they are limiting that which the pharmacist can say is available to you and would serve you well, even if it's cheaper, by contracts. There are contracts developed. So that's where lobbying, where I need to dig in always and ask much tougher questions. Because if somebody is interested in just protecting the industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and profits, I can see that. I can see that in the conversation with the CEO, with the representatives. But more often, I see pharmaceutical companies who actually value R&D, definitely need to make a profit. They have shareholders to answer to, but they recognize that we have a role to play to pressure them to not allow the gouging of customers. That's why I was so thrilled to be a part of the IRA that reduced prescription insulin for seniors to $35 a month.
Yes.
We need to get that for everybody.
It's such an important point that you made about how few people actually understand the role or even the existence of the PBM, right?
Yeah.
And that in part is what, we're even doing here today, is that how do we make more people aware of the generic processes that take place that allow things to happen for your benefit or not,
That's
right?
Right.
And so, you are representing my home state of Pennsylvania, my home county of Montgomery County, and that is a big pharma, that's Merck territory, right?
That's right.
And it is one of those kinds of David and Goliath seeming stories. On one hand, and I know this all too well from my own time in state government, you have a major corporation who is employing so many people, helping so many people work and pay their bills, et cetera. And yet you have this other constituent base that needs their drugs, that needs to be able to still feed their family and get their insulin or get whatever that, their EpiPen or whatever that item is. And so how do we think about the limits? How do we think about even how far we go to regulate?
That's exactly our job, is literally to try to figure that out. And so when you talk about Merck, I have been to Merck, to multiple campuses of Merck, and gotten to see some of the terrific folks who work there, who really prize their work there, whether they're union workers or non-union workers, researchers or sales, you name it. But I also am very clear with them that while I prize the work they do in bringing pharmaceuticals to market and making a profit as they do it, we have a responsibility to make sure that the consumer, the patient, is also protected. Why is it that people can buy certain prescriptions in Europe or in Canada cheaper than they can buy them here? That's why we have been putting forward the legislation that we did and will continue to do it. You know that we have a schedule of drugs that will be on this formula for reduction in prices to the consumer. We have an obligation to do that because you can't let any industry just simply run away with it, especially when we're talking about one's health. It is the job of government to put in appropriate regulation.